Hi, everyone. My name is Peyton Dufour, and I want to welcome you to my Educational Technology ePortfolio website. I have made this website to showcase my skills and my knowledge acquired in the field of educational technology through Louisiana State University's Master's in Education Educational Technology program. This is a culmination of my coursework with the program in this practicum course. And I wanted to give you an overview of the key learning artifacts that I have worked on and constructed during my time in the program. So this is my website, and here's my overview page. This Powtoon on the homepage here, overview page, gives you a little brief introduction into my portfolio and some of the key areas that it's going to cover. And all of the portfolio's artifacts align with the International Society for Technology and Education, the ISTE standards for educators. And I actually have a video going through those standards that are listed on my key projects page that you can view, go through and review some of those key critical um, attributes and components of those standards. If you scroll to the bottom of my website, this just gives you a quicker navigation method to go through my course website. You have my course matrix. The course matrix just provides an overview of the core competencies that I've mastered in my program with LSU and their alignment to the ISTE standards for educators. Of course, you have my key projects page, which I'm going to go through with you in this video of highlighting what those artifacts are and what those entail. You can also get some insight into my transformation as a technology practitioner through my time in the program. And then, of course, my professional bio just highlights some of my professional experiences and also some of my professional certifications that I've earned over the last couple of years. So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to take you to um, the key projects page, and I'm going to start with ISTE Standard 1 for Learner. So I'm going to go ahead and take you through to my website here for my artifacts page. So the first thing you see is a professional learning network chart. This during my time in the program, we've had the opportunity to expand our knowledge of curation tools, of communication tools, of social media platforms, and basically that allows us to build our professional networks, to expand our awareness in the field of educational technology. And so this chart outlines some of my key examples of those tools. I have my Twitter feed, and then I also have a blog and a using the curation tool Digo. And then I also give some reflections on some additional tools, examples that you can see here in this chart. You'll see some of those key critical reflections on each of those tools as it pertains to professional learning networks. Okay. And then secondly, here is my professional learning environment graphic. Um, this covers the communities, tools, and services that I have invested in and use as part of my growth as a technology facilitator. And some of these are very, very important. Some of these I've actually acquired that I'm new to actually since I entered the program with LSU and doing this program. So, for example, my Twitter feed, I had a personal Twitter feed before I entered into my coursework, but I've actually developed an ed tech Twitter feed, which was done in one of my courses. So I wanted to be able to share those things, and then things like I mentioned, like my Digo, Blogger, social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, and then some of my core communities that I'm involved with. Google for Education. I'm a Google certified educator and a Google certified trainer. That is my specialty, and that's how I've gotten specialized in that is through my school district and us becoming a Google district a couple of years ago. And then being able to present at the LaQ conference. I did a technology leadership project that I'm going to show you here during our recording today. And then organizations like the National Institute in Excellence in Teaching, NEIT, it is our partner in DeSoto Parish that looks at student teacher teacher quality and student achievement, and then the Louisiana Department of Education and ISTE, and then of course LSU Online, which is a big part of this as well as me, working towards my career and professional goals in ed tech. And this artifact aligns to ISTE Standard 1A, and then my chart aligns to ISTE Standard 1B. Okay, moving on to ISTE Standard 2 for leader. Um, Technology leadership was was the very first course that I took in my master's program here at LSU, and this document outlines a strategic implementation and integration plan for DeSoto Parish schools. This was one of the first experiential learning project that I worked on. And this focuses on integration, technology integration, and implementation in the K through 12 classrooms. And so this really just outlines some essential components and attributes of long-term technology integration. And that includes opportunities for growth, some challenges that we may come across as we navigate through effective technology integration, and how that is how that buys into equity and for our stakeholders. So I thought this was very, very important for me to include into the portfolio because it highlights some of the leadership skills that I've learned, and some of the things that like organizations like ISTE and like COSIGN that really talk to those leadership strategies and skills that are important um, for for not only leaders but students, educators, and stakeholders, how they all play in together and through that implementation. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I had a chance to present at LaQ, and I got to present this project at LaQ in December of 2019. This presentation that you see is just a condensed version of the main highlights and components of my plan. And I, it was my very first time presenting at a technology or a leadership conference, so it was a very good experience. I thought it was important to highlight that experience in my portfolio. And this one aligns to standards 2B and 2A. So moving on to standard 3 for ISTE, which is citizen. It's very important as educators and people who work in the educational technology field that we teach digital citizenship to our students and to our stakeholders. And one of the key ethical responsibilities in doing that is protecting student data and being legally obligated to protect student privacy. And through in my advanced telecommunications and e-learning course, we learned about certain privacy laws such as FERPA, COPA, and SIPA, and looking at those regulations and how those are mandatory for students to use certain educational platforms or tools. Those tools or platforms that could actually link and store student data. So it was very important that I include this, as any technology leader or facilitator would know. You have to be able to fully protect your students when it comes to um, the internet and digital responsibility. So this artifact, basically, if you open it, it just outlines some of those key components here. You can see a table which outlines the student privacy laws, and then it goes through a basic overview. How does this affect online learning and distance education? Any other notes about those laws? And I've put those in this table to highlight those essential elements. Okay, and the alignment goes with standards 3C and 3D for citizen. Moving on to perhaps one of my most favorite standards is collaborator, and professional development is one of my research interests. It's something that I aspire to actually do as a tech facilitator one day is to facilitate professional development for educators. It's really important that I be able to have that opportunity to share my resources, share my knowledge, and share my learning with other people, other colleagues. So the first thing you see here is actually a Padlet of curated professional development resources that I could share with other colleagues or district leadership or any other stakeholders that are, that are involved in our school district. These resources are curated from places like ISTE, organizations like ISTE, the Google Suite for Education, other consultant agencies. I even included some things that I've designed for my school district, and things that I've curated and designed myself. So I've included my own personal artifacts into this Padlet. And so if you click on the link, if you click on the Padlet, you'll be able to go through the various resources here. And it was important that I include these because it's very important that I stay current on educational and technology trends and research. This Padlet is something that would be continuously updated as I learn more from case studies, from new technologies, anything of that nature. This would go directly into this Padlet. And then for my professional development course in K through 12, I was asked to develop a professional development workshop, about a 1.5 hour to 2 hour workshop that focused on a specific technology platform or tool. And so I chose to develop a plan on synchronous and asynchronous learning for K through 12 students using the platform Nearpod. So this project focuses on the course description, what a learning schedule would look like for a professional development workshop, the technologies and tools that are used, and the activities that are aligned with the ISTE standards for educators. So this outlines an actual a workshop that would be facilitated on this platform. And so professional development is of course a big component of collaboration. Using Nearpod specifically would allow educators to collaborate and share instructional ideas and strategies together to see how this tool can be integrated into their instruction. So I thought this was very good because it is essentially a collaborative tool that can be used not only with students, but it can also be used with educators as well. And then finally, I I did a screencast of my professional development website, and actually on the footer of every page of my portfolio, I've not only linked my Twitter feed and my blog, but I've also linked my professional learning website. It's my Teacher Education Resource Center website that I've developed a lot of the key artifacts and projects and actual resources that could be used for professional development. So this just gives an overview of all of those resources, programs that I've developed, learning modules, and provides an overview of a professional development plan, which I just shared. And I thought this was very important because, as I said, this is something that would be continuously updated and modified as new research or new trends or anything new in professional development or educational technology. As those come available, I would curate and share resources and update that on a continuous basis. So this website is basically a cornerstone of the work that I've done in my master's program through the majority of my courses. So moving on to ISTE Standard 5, Instructional Design. Um, before um, before I entered the program, I had limited or little knowledge as to how to use Bloom's taxonomy to design instruction as it pertains to online learning environments, and looking at the different modalities of that, and looking at how to structure learning activities and resources that specifically align with specific learning objectives and learning outcomes. And so through the duration of my learning in in my program here, we really had a lot of discussion on Bloom's taxonomy, a lot of research on it. And so this really centers around that framework. Um, and I chose to design a learning module that was Google related. So I did one on using Google Chrome extensions and the Google Suite for Education and how those can integrate together and sync together for specific learning situations or learning environments. And so I wanted to be able to um, design this course using Bloom's that focus specifically on that. And then my rationale, again, that was to really demonstrate my understanding of the core competencies of Bloom's taxonomy for course design and asynchronous and synchronous learning modules. So it also demonstrates my skills in the use of an LMS, which learning management systems we've used a lot and have done a lot of practical work with those. Looking at how to use assessment and instructional strategies with implementation for learning tasks and activities. And so if you, with this document, this is a overview. If you can click on it and it pops out into a new window. But if you click on it, it takes you through the whole structure with appendices of all the resources and learning activities tools. All of those are meant to be used for any technology facilitator or technology coach. So if they wanted to actually facilitate this online learning module, they could take this instructional design plan and implement it because it has all of those instructional design elements there for them to facilitate that course. So it's all included in this document here. And then if we go through to Facilitator for ISTE Standard 6, this was the design of multimedia units and instructional design. I really enjoyed this course because we really got to use a lot of media elements. I actually had the chance to record a podcast, which is not something I've never done before, and learning about a podcast tool like Anchor. And for this learning, I focused on flipped classroom design, flipped learning design as facilitation, because flipped learning is where you swap roles, where the teacher becomes more of a facilitator. That person is not the in the driver's seat of instruction. You put the student in the driver's seat, so it kind of flips the instruction to where the student is driving all the learning. So for this course, I designed some things around flipped learning and flipped learning design for educators that they could use in their classrooms to facilitate that instructional strategy. And so this is an actual podcast. This is basically where I facilitate a discussion about flipped learning and the implications, opportunities, and benefits of student-centered learning. And then I thought it was important that I include something real and authentic, something that can like podcasting actually fosters facilitation, and people use podcasts all the time to facilitate discussion. So I included this as a means because I really thought it highlighted the standard, and it also fosters 21 first century skills for collaborative learning between educators and students. And this covered quite a bit of number of standards: 6A, 6B, and 6D for facilitator. And then here at the bottom of this page for Facilitator, I included I designed a graphic that looked at the integration techniques between using Google, Screencastify, and Nearpod, which are all tools for facilitation. Again, these tools put the students in the driver's seat for learning. Screencastify, for example, you can assign, say you're in an English class and you have a Socratic seminar or some kind of class discussion, you can assign a task to the student and they can use Screencastify to record their discussion with you. Nearpod, same thing. You have collaboration boards. You have different formative assessments where students are centrally engaged in the learning. So these tools again put the students in the driver's seat, and the educator is simply a facilitator. And so you see some integration here with the Google Suite for Education, and these tools can be easily integrated and used across one platform. So this graphic just highlights some of the details of that. Okay. So I thought this was important to include because it fosters authentic and creative expression. Additionally, as a facilitator, I wanted to show potential leaders that have the capacity to hold students accountable for their learning. And essentially, again, tools don't replace instruction, they simply enhance it. But if you have the right tools, you can hold students accountable for their learning. So this is why I chose to include these artifacts into my portfolio. And then lastly, we have um, an important standard here, research, a very, very essential component in the educational technology field, and a lot of work that I've been able to do as a student in the master's program here. And again, I wanted to focus in on professional development. That is my interest. That is one of my main career aspirations is to be able to be a technology coach, facilitate professional development for teachers. And so the first um, paper you see here, I did some research into professional development in rural schools, conceptualizing high quality teacher professional development, and that was in my theories in research and educational technology course. And this gives you an overview um, of how um, effective professional development can play into strategic technology planning for key stakeholders. I did a review of scholarly literature, looking at qualitative data on this. And how that's developed in K through 12 schools. The findings of this also investigate professional development frameworks, instructional technology models, coaching and mentoring approaches that increase teacher efficacy and making connections between pedagogy and technology awareness. So there was a lot of review of key scholarly articles, key literature that led to the development of the research here. And then again, I thought it was important to showcase my interests, my main interests in the educational technology field. I think these practices show that I've grown as a researcher, being able to read and stay up to date on current research and trends. It's something that is very important for a technology leader in a K through 12 or a higher education setting. So very important that I be able to highlight my ability to problem solve and brainstorm solutions to certain scenarios. Okay. And that aligns to standard 7C for analysts. So another course that was applying and understanding research. And then again, this is specifically focused on Google for education professional learning and the impact on teacher efficacy and virtual learning design. In this learning, we had to really look at quantitative and qualitative data and put that into an action research plan. So I actually had to develop an action research plan and come up with some research questions as to how Google learning tools can increase or impact teacher self-efficacy and virtual learning and instructional design. And so this focuses on two professional development frameworks that identify the most relevant literature and to genuinely understand the significant changes influencing the landscape of technology integration into rural education. So I use some methods of data collection and analysis. I provide a discussion of the implications of targeted action research and how specific professional learning frameworks impact educator knowledge. So again, some of this pretty much, not much has changed with my rationale for including these artifacts. Being well versed in qualitative and quantitative research, knowing how to analyze, collect data, analyze it, apply it to applicable solutions. That's very, very important that I'll be able to showcase that here and also show that I have those foundational research skills and I can apply them into real world situations. And lastly, evaluation. It goes along with research, being able to evaluate technology programs. Again, going along with data collection, making evaluations, and then forming some objectives and outcomes that can play into structuring a professional learning program that will deliver high quality professional development. Uh, and so the purpose of this was to provide quality, targeted, and specific professional development in the Google Suite for Education, and create coaching and mentoring initiatives for purposeful and meaningful technology integration techniques into instructional frameworks. So, in this, you will see that I've created a logic model of the components of this evaluation plan. There's an evaluator program description that highlights the key objectives, the research methods, data collection methods, um, short and long term goals. All of these things you'll see in this plan here, in this evaluation plan. Okay. And so this goes along with the administration of technology programs, along with the administrative aspect of leadership. Leaders have to make evaluations on a daily basis. If not daily, maybe weekly or even monthly, just depending on where a school district is in their strategic planning. And so it's important that I show that I have the skills of evaluation, that I can think strategically, that I can form evaluation questions, that I can research and collect data to conceptualize what evaluation plan would look like for professional learning. So, and that aligns to ISTE Standard 7C. Okay, so that concludes an overview of my main learning artifacts for this program. I really hope that you are able to get a broader sense of the work that I've done here, and that the skills that I've acquired and the knowledge that I've acquired over the course of the last almost 2 years. So these highlight the main components of my research interest, of my knowledge in the ed tech landscape. So I hope that you guys can get something, take something away from this, and even think about like some big problems that we're facing right now in the educational world, and how those can be addressed, and forming solutions. So I wanted to mention one thing. There's my course matrix. This is just a basic overview. This gives you an overview of some of the core competencies that I have acquired through my learning. And so this just gives you a basic overview of that. And then you have the standards here that give you the projects that I've worked on, the time frame for completion, and it just breaks down the specific description of all the standards. And actually, on my key projects page, I have a video posted where I go through the standards and share my experiences of how they've applied to my learning during my time as a graduate student. So feel free to check that out. And I really hope that you enjoy going through my website. Again, at the bottom, you have some methods of getting in touch with me. I have the DeSoto Parish Learning Center, the Digital DeSoto Google Learning Center for Teachers. You can contact me through email. And then also you can contact me through my Twitter and my blog. You can check out my blog, or look at my Twitter feed to see the latest findings that I've come across in EdTech. So I'm glad you stopped by, and enjoy. Thank you for taking time to visit with me today.